And of course, thank you so much for joining us for News Flash segment. And we do this by kind courtesy of Franco Trading Enterprise, still and still phone Papa Pefie. Whatever authentic, I want to stress on the authentic gadget you're looking for. Make sure you go to Franco Trading Enterprise. They've got the mobile phones, television sets, CCTV cameras, and even many more. You can actually download the app on your phone to make things very simple. So it's the Franco Trading app. And for further inquiries, visit the website, which is www.francotradingenterprise.com. Franco Trading Enterprise, still and still phone Papa Pefie. Now, earlier I did mention that we were going to have the weather forecast this morning. Yesterday we did it, and guess what? It came to pass. We saw the drizzles, we saw the clouds and all. Now, this morning, what do we have? We are being joined by Joshua Assafuah, who is a senior forecaster at GMED. And good morning, Joshua, if you're online. Joshua, kindly unmute yourself for us.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you today?
Okay. I'm very fine, thank you.
Great. And we are loving the weather already. So we loved yesterday's weather, but we don't know if we'll love today's weather as well. So please tell us how we should expect the weather to be like.
All right, thank you. And a very good morning to everyone watching. So everybody likes the weather. In fact, we are in our winter. We are enjoying a lot of low temperatures across Ghana. So I'm sure everybody is loving the weather that we're experiencing now. For us in southern Ghana, we'll continue to see the slight rain drizzle early in the hours of the morning and later in the evening. But during the day, it will be a bit bright, not so sunny, so you can still have your outdoor activities and you not be so much affected. Similar conditions will persist as the days go by in the week, but by midweek towards the weekend, we'll have brighter conditions for coastal Ghana and what we'll see in the start of the week. But still, cloudiness will persist, and then we'll have occasionally some slight rain or drizzle. So no significant rainfall is expected within the week for coastal Ghana. Just a slight rain or a drizzle over a few areas, and mostly the cloudiness dominating. Same conditions will be seen in the middle portions of Ghana, like the Ashanti, the Western, the Volta region. You will also be seeing the slight rain, drizzle occasionally, and cloudiness dominating, quite low temperatures there as well. In the northern portions of Ghana as well, we expect some rainfall to go there today, especially in the upper east and upper west region. And this will come later this afternoon into the evening. Some cases of rain, occasional thunder will be seen in these areas. Midweek will be bright, sunny conditions mostly. Then over the weekend, Saturday will also be bright, so outdoor activities will not be affected. But on Sunday, we expect some thunderstorms coming. This will cover a wider area. So places within the northern region, the Savannah, the upper west, upper east, are likely to get some rain over the weekend. But from the start of the week towards the early part of the weekend, it will mostly be fair and sunny in the northern portions of Ghana.
Right, Joshua, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be doing this with you every Tuesday morning.
All right, always a pleasure to join you.
Thank you. Have an amazing day. So if you're stepping out this morning, you know what to do. Let's quickly do the newspapers, and then we delve into our conversation for this morning. I'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper, the Daily Graphic. Chiefs can't renegotiate sold lands, Justice Oseitu says so. You know, I have heard of this thing, and especially in Accra. I don't know about other places, but in Accra, people pay like 3 times when they are buying a land. You pay to the person who's selling the land, then somebody else will pop up and say, oh, I'm the family. Then you pay to the person, and then the chiefs will also pop up, and then you have to pay to the chiefs before you have the land title. Now we are being told that chiefs can't renegotiate sold lands, which is good. Very, very good. Also, Ablikuma North violence, police reviewing viral videos to identify culprits. I'm hoping that those individuals that, attacked the journalist, they will be brought to book, especially that man that attacked the multimedia journalist. He had his face partly covered, but we know the kind of forensic that we have in Ghana here will definitely bust him, and so we are trusting the police on it. 37,000 candidates write licensure exams, and this is for the teachers, those who want to be teachers. 37,000 of them are writing the exams today. GT Bank Autism Workshop, GHS steps up autism support, finalizes community-based plan. And this is from Director General. I think there are some stories in the center as well. So let me quickly go into the center page. So still on the daily graphic, teacher unions must drive educational policies. This coming from Dr. Tano. Will complete work on Eastern Regional Hospital and other projects. This from President Mahama as he assures citizens. Defense Minister left with 3.79 billion debt, Ghana cedis debt. This from Dr. Omani Buama. Whoa, wow. How did they get there? How did Defense Minister get into 3.79 billion Ghana cedis debt? How? Well, I believe the Office of the Special Prosecutor will be breaking things down to us for us to understand. And when you take a look at such a story, of course, today we are going to take a look at even Ghana's debt. 86% of the debt is coming from the energy sector. Yes, we'll be delving into that as well. Now, Daily Graphic Sports, Titans clash in WAFCON semis. Black Queens out to shock Atlas Lionesses. And that'll be all for the Daily Graphic newspaper. The next newspaper is Graphic Business. BOG unveils Islamic banking plans. And during election 2024, President Mahama did promise Islamic Bank, and it looks like there is Islamic banking plans already on the way. Investor confidence rebounds. T-bills oversubscribed with returns of 10.64 billion Ghana cedis accepted. That's it for the front page. Let me see if there's anything on the back page. Yes, there is. Government engages IPPs in $1.7 billion debt renegotiation. This debt, we are delving deeper into it this morning, like I told you. CSOs urge government to stabilize city. Sunset clause for energy levy as finance minister presents mid-year budget on Thursday. That'll be it for the Graphic Business newspaper. The next newspaper is the New Republic newspaper. The New Republic. Baumia's 2.1 billion Ghana cedis is it G40 scandal? Okay, sorry. Let me take it again. Baumia's 2.1 billion Ghana cedis G40 scandal, kickback scheme, monumental losses, and abuse of processes. Alabi's impersonators busted in defrauding scheme. Yesterday, I think we read about it. They actually defrauded people in the name of Professor Alabi worth 60,000 Ghana cedis. Now, hey, these fraudsters, Charlie, they no fear who. Anyway, I'm happy that they've been busted, and all other fraudsters will be busted too. So if you know you're a fraudster, be on the lookout because they are coming for you. Mahama pledges free SHS in private schools. That's a good one. If it will definitely happen, then obviously some of us will also enjoy it. So I'm hoping that it happens. Atachia Dam's client says he won't impose himself. A drama unfolds in 49 million Ghana cedis embezzlement case. Hope returns to Blekusu as Mahama breaks ground on crucial sea defense projects after nearly a decade of inaction, and I'm excited about it. And I know all those living at the coastal area, they are very excited about it because this is life-saving. Let me put it like that. Because imagine you wake up one day and due to spillage, you don't have your livelihood anymore. You don't have your building. You don't have everything you've worked for. You've lost it. And so I'm excited about the Blekusu project, and I pray that it won't be put on hold anymore because of finance, because of certain things, but rather we'll see it worked on with speed. Scandalous Cathedral Saka. Ekufuado government dash 15.7 million Ghana cedis to David Ajayi. Brutal audit report. You see, as for the Cathedral saga, I don't know if I should say scandal or saga or what. When you hear about it, it's like day in, day out, the figures keep going up. So we weren't even told the truth from day one. When the whole thing happened, if this is really true, then we were not told the truth. Unless what we were told earlier is the truth and, there's been some add-ons or some machinations just to make it look as though it is in a different way. But if what we're told wasn't true, then Ghanaians, we've really slept in the dark for long. Because imagine if, audit report is revealing that an individual received 15.7 million Ghana cedis. When we went to IMF, how much did we ask IMF for? Then we were able to dash 15.7 million Ghana cedis to an individual. If this is true, then it's a cause to worry. Seriously, if this is true. Anyway, let's see what's in the center spread, still the New Republic newspaper. Okay, so it's still the same stories with regards to what's being reported on the front page. So that'll be it for the New Republic newspaper. The final newspaper is the Chronicle newspaper. The Chronicle. Minister threatens to revoke 962 small-scale mining licenses to combat galamsey. Court discharges accused persons standing trial over killing of Josephine Asante. Surge in illegal export of raw rubber worries stakeholders, and 38% of NPP delegates endorse brine. Oh, really? Is this true? Okay. Well, they'll go to the polls in January. We'll get to know if it's really true or it's not true. In the camp of Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, they are saying they have over 61%. In the camp of Brian Champon, they are saying 38%. Okay. Could they go bigger and better with regards to the 38%? Or the 38% is a comfortable lead for them? Well, January, all eyes will be on the NPP as we'll know who is who. The Chronicle never disappoints. They have their Bible quotation here. And I know that with their Bible quotation, we can link it to one of the stories. All right, so it says, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession. 38% of NPP delegates endorse brine. I didn't link it. The Chronicle did it. Let's see if there are some stories in the center page as well. Okay. Oh, okay. Sometimes the Chronicle reports some entertainment stories too. So let's see. Okay, yes. When you open newspaper and you see that your interview is repping, then you get excited. I'm so excited this morning because I'm just seeing that one of my interviews just popped up in the Chronicle newspaper. And the interview is with Kwame Eugene, and he said, I was jilted by an ex-girlfriend for a guy with Corolla. Yes, and he actually said this on Changes last week, Wednesday. So if you didn't watch that episode, it's still on. It's on YouTube, actually. And we streamed, and so it's still on Facebook, too. So, yeah, he did mention that he... Hey, let me see. Did I mention my name? Okay, so born Eugene Kwame Mafo. I want to see if you Chronicle people, you mentioned Changes and you mentioned our name. High Life IT's Kwame Eugene has recounted how his first relationship ended because he did not have a car. Born Kwame Eugene Mafo revealed that before he rose to fame, he dated a lady who broke his heart. Okay, according to him, she left him for a guy who owned Corolla. Blah, blah. In an interview on Joy Prime, that's all I was looking for. In an interview on Joy Prime, he mentioned that back in Fadama, I had this girl who used to vibe. Oh my goodness. Well, they've mentioned Joy Prime, so we'll take it like that. But next time, mention the show. It's called Changes. And then you mention the name of the presenter, Roslyn Felly. Bam, we are done. All right, so more stories here. Otumfuo expresses interest in attending Sarkodie's Rapaholic concert in Kumasi. Oh, wow, that would be nice. If Otumfuo will attend, that would be great. Jim Ike sparks controversy with birthday tribute to Ken Kate Henshaw, and I'll keep playing as long as I breathe. Stevie Wonder says so. All right, so that will be all for the Chronicle newspaper, and that's all for our newspapers for this morning. Now, earlier I did mention to you that we were going to delve into Ghana's debt. And talking about that, from the Auditor General's report yesterday, we got to know that 86% of Ghana's debt is being, I don't want to use the word orchestrated, or it's been like this because of the energy sector. That's what it is. Simply put, we are in debt as a country, but that whole debt that we have accrued as a country, 86% of that debt is from the energy sector. We want to delve into it. Kofi J is coming. He's going to show us exactly how it all happened. Kofi, I think you should take a seat here. You can come this way, and then you just come and take a seat. Yes. Okay. So you'll be taking. Yeah. Okay. So I'm here. All right. So you be there. I'll just move this way. Am I still in short? If I'm still in short, that's fine. If not, and I should move this way, I will.
You are.
Okay. Let me just come this way, Kofi, for you, so that you take over the whole screen and break it down for us. Okay. So maybe I leave it to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Rosie.
Welcome.
I'm fine.
And how are you?
Good.
Great. Ifro. You can move the seats that way. Good.
Okay.
Now you have the whole screen to yourself. No distraction. Okay.
I think this.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. It's fine. Yes. So now we can see everything. And you know, Isaac Kofi J, aka Joy News, he's my favorite person in the building, right? Oh, why are you laughing? Are you not my favorite person in the building?
I think I am.
Yes, you are my favorite person in the building. So he's going to tell us everything. Right. He works with all the data in his head. I don't know how he does it. But Kofi, take over.
Well, so we are talking about irregularities or financial irregularities of public boards and statutory institutions, i.e. agencies and departments under the various ministries of government. And yesterday we got fresh data from the Auditor General's report that states that financial irregularities have actually hit some 18.4 billion Ghana cedis. Now, the reason why this is staggering is that in 2023, when we got that data from the Auditor General, it was good because we had moved from 17 and 15 billion in financial irregularities to 8.8 billion. And many were saying that this was a turnaround moment for Ghana to actually reduce some of these financial irregularities. And significantly, it was because that number one, corporate in terms of irregularities, that was payroll irregularities, had actually reduced from the billions to, some thousands and millions. And that was very good news in 2023. But the current Auditor General's report that came out paints a gloomy picture, which shows that election year of 2024, there were significant or bigger irregularities that were recorded, 18.4 billion. If you do the math between 2023 and 2024, we are talking about an increment of more than 100% in the irregularities recorded. And in fact, what we decided to do is to use or pick the data that the Auditor General had put out and try and do some form of analysis and see how much of these irregularities have been recorded since the COVID period. So I'm talking about between 2020 and 2024. So in just a span of, let's say, 4 years, total irregularities recorded, that's the figure on the smart wall for you, 72.6 billion Ghana cedis in financial irregularities, Rosalind.
I'm just, so financial irregularities. We have 72.6 billion. How did we get to the financial irregularities? Well, what we are supposed to have a country where systems have been put in place that we are supposed to be able to monitor money that come in and go out.
We have systems and procurement acts and what have you for people to go through and all of that. And in fact, this 72.6 billion that we are seeing, the 2024 figure is unprecedented. We have never recorded irregularities more than that figure before. And in fact, where are these 2020 for? that was an election year. And the indication we are getting based on the data we have analyzed is that if you look at the irregularities, especially during election years, they're quite high, right? Because this is where you see all of this procurement and contracts being given out and all of that. So where are these irregularities coming from in terms of what we know so far? And if you look at it, on top of the chain is loans recoverables. These are government agencies who have loans, delayed loan payments, loans between interbank agencies, loans, non-performing investment that government agencies have actually, are currently having on their books. And the total amount is 12.5 billion. Lost investments, non-performing loans, delay in loan payments between interbanks, that's 12.5 billion Ghana cedis. Cash irregularities, 4.6 billion Ghana cedis. What are cash irregularities? Payments in government sector without supported documents is what we call cash irregularities.
Where did the money go?
I have no idea. I mean, in fact, we are still monitoring and studying the Auditor General's report.
4.6 billion. Bullion.
4.6 billion. That's about $460 million in cash irregularities. We did go to the IMF for just $3 billion.
US dollars.
The US dollars. And just recently we're celebrating $372 million as inflows, whilst we're losing $4.6 billion. That's about $400 million in cash irregularities. So in essence, we made some payments of almost 5 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 without proper documentation. There were no documentation backing this payment in 2024. There were also contract irregularities. Of course, it's an election year, and definitely you will see contract irregularities being around $872 million, almost around $900 million. And procurement irregularities definitely will come up again, $333 million. But in terms of the ministries, if you look at what we are saying so far, the top ministries that are sitting on top of this irregularities chain is the Energy Ministry. And out of that 18 billion or 18.4 billion irregularities we saw in 2024, the Ministry of Energy or agencies and departments under the Energy Ministry alone accounts for more than 86% of that. It means that 8 out of the 10 irregularities, or 9 out of 10 irregularities we saw in 2024 came from the Energy Ministry. And why is this important? It's because there is a certain state-owned enterprise in that picture called Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. And ECG is coming up again. Remember, in 2023, the same audit report put out that ECG underdeclared its revenue by more than 2 billion Ghana cedis. They got more than 11 billion Ghana cedis in total revenue, but they lied to the cash waterfall mechanism system that they only had about more than 8 billion in revenue. So they underdeclared more than $2 billion Ghana cedis in revenue under the cash waterfall mechanism.
Where did the rest go?
In my interview with Dubik on Pause, he said that, well, if they don't underdeclare, how do we expect ECG to function? Because this was the period that ECG was battling with high exchange rate. And we've always said that our energy sector has become a debt-making machine because a small exchange in exchange rates affect the energy sector, because the energy sector produces in dollars, sells the power in cedis. So whenever it's time for them to go back and pay their debtors in dollars, they struggle when the cedi is around 15 cedis or when the cedi is depreciating. That is what he said.
What for me? Yes, he can underdeclare from what he's saying. But what does the law say with regards to declarations? Do you have to underdeclare?
Definitely.
So if the law is not saying that, then how do you sit on that seat with your own power vested in you by yourself, say that you are underdeclaring?
Meanwhile, there is a whole cash waterfall mechanism which the PRC is supposed to play a supervisory role. And under this cash waterfall mechanism, revenue generated by ECG is supposed to be shared in a certain manner amongst all power players in the energy sector. So they are level A players, level B players. Remember that they are independent power producers who produce about 70% of the power we consume. ECG pays them and fuel suppliers about $50 million every month, right? And so under the cash waterfall mechanism, this is where BUI gets paid, GRA gets paid, your Son and Asogli gets paid, or all other, independent power producers, including WAPCO, who will use their gas pipeline, West African gas pipeline and all of that. All of them come under the cash waterfall for payment. But the 2024 audit report is saying that ECG in 2023 decided to declare its revenue by more than 2 billion Ghana cedis. And this resulted in something that we need to bring to your attention, that if you look at ECG's debt to a state-owned enterprise like BUI, BUI is the one that produces the power, gives it to Gridco, then Gridco gives it to ECG to sell the power. Now, somewhere 2023, ECG's debt to Gridco was a little bit above $300 million. But in 2024, the Auditor General is quoting more than $700 million in ECG debt to BUI. So the question is BUI, if BUI is being owed close to about, let's say, $800 million in just 1 year, how do we expect BUI to function as a power generation unit, or as an institution or state-owned enterprise that generates power to actually send across the country? And that is what we are supposed to be discussing, because some of these things are actually resulting in the current energy sector shortfalls we are seeing, the doomsday we are seeing and all of that. And the reason why we are paying for that 1 cedi additional levy on fuel is simply because of the inefficiencies of ECG. And also, the reason why you have to pay 27% more in terms of tariff, or PRC would have to consider including fuel component in the calculation of tariff. And we understand that tariffs since the beginning of the year have actually gone up by more than some 16%. It's simply because of some of the inefficiencies we are seeing in the energy sector. Currently, as we speak, the energy sector debt is hovering around $3.1 billion. And the question is, how do we pay? Already, government is saying that, look, we want to do burden sharing. We ourselves, we've done the calculation and we've seen that if we decide to go business as usual, shortfalls or subsidies that government pays to the energy sector could be in excess of $2 billion in 2024. So what do? Consumers must pay. That is why you are paying 1 cedi additional levy on fuel. PRC is saying that, well, hitherto we didn't include the calculation in the tariff system. So there is an energy component, or there's a component that we are supposed to use to buy fuel and to clear our debt. Let's introduce a 27% absorption of this debt that we are talking about. And PRC has actually factored that into the debt calculation or the tariff calculation, and we are paying. And all of this is simply because of ECG's inefficiencies. And as we speak, per every 100 cedis worth of power that ECG sells, it is not able to get back about some 32 cedis of it. So if ECG sells 100 cedis, if they get 100 cedis of power from, let's say, Gridco, and they sell that 100 cedis of power, ECG is not able to recoup 32 cedis of it because of the system losses. There are system losses that are not enabling ECG to actually recoup 100% of what they sell. But what we also understand is that...
Please, if you talk about system losses, what system losses are we talking about?
So we are talking about, meters not being on the same level. Right. We are talking about some of the systems of ECG in terms of their apps and all of that. All of these things are not uniform. And so when you sell the power, you are not able to get back some of the money. There are also transmission losses. Definitely, when you are transmitting the power from Gridco to ECG to do the distribution, there will be some, losses there as well. Those are what we call the transmission losses. If you add that to, the technical or the system losses, ECG loses a lot, and we lose a lot from our energy sector when we are trying to transfer energies from one point to the other. In fact, it's the reason why the president has been very particular on privatization of ECG. And when we talk about privatization of ECG, we are not talking about a PDS system. We are talking about the president saying that the last bit of the energy sector distribution, which has to do with the distribution aspect, must be privatized. I mean, private sector must come in to do the collection of the revenue and what have you. Because what we are seeing currently, if we decide to go on as business as usual, government would have to be coughing up some $2 billion almost every year as subsidies to keep the lights on. So in years or in an instance where government is struggling to even find money itself, or in a situation where the currency of the country isn't performing well against the dollar, you may have doomsday on your hands. So in fact, what we have decided to create for ourselves as a country is an energy sector that is dependent on the performance of the city. When the city is performing well, currently the city is performing well, that's why you see stability in your power. That's why doomsday is not everywhere dense. But once we begin to see the city misbehave, ECG will feel it because they will be paying more, they will get less to actually, they'll be paying more. It will become difficult for them to settle what they owe their players and all of that. And that will translate into power, doomsday, and then, some form of restrictions in power supply. So definitely, this being put out by the Auditor General paints a gloomy picture about Ghana's energy sector, where hitherto, when we are talking about irregularities in state-owned enterprises and state boards and institutions, statutory institutions, usually we point fingers at the finance ministry. I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, the finance ministry used to lead this league table. Now we are talking about the energy ministry, or agencies, departments, and boards under the energy ministry leading. It's simply because of the inefficiencies that exist in our energy sector. We all know what happened to those missing containers of ECG. And ECG itself was found, actually, the Auditor General fingered ECG in this report, saying that there were even instances where ECG deducted taxes that they were supposed to pay to GRA. ECG decided not to pay these taxes within this period that we are talking about. And these are huge, millions of Ghana cedis that we are talking about. So the big question is it time to start talking about the privatization of ECG? The president says that, well, we are looking at the last bit of the distribution, but should it go above or beyond just distribution or the last bit of distribution, talking about the entire ECG and how we can reduce the inefficiencies in the energy sector? Because as it stands now, the question is, well, currently, consumers may be able to pay that $1 additional levy on fuel to support the purchase of fuel to power thermal plants for ECG to get the power to supply. But how long can we continue to pay taxes or to pay for the inefficiencies of ECG? Because as it stands now, if nothing is done about the system losses and the transmission losses, we will continue to have some of these problems on our hands. And if nothing is done about procurement, contract, cash irregularities and all of that, we are possibly going to see more irregularities in the energy sector. We are talking about some 1.6 or 1.5 billion dollars in irregularities in the energy sector.
The beauty of the conversation is the fact that you have made the word irregularities. But in actual fact, there's been a lot of corruption in there. And so as much as we make it, irregularity, where's the money?
That's the question.
Who were the leaders there? How did we get here? Because we were not here. How we got here is the question to be asked. Who was the one in charge? You know, you ought to be accountable to us. You were on taxpayers' money. And so how did we get here as a country, as an institution? You were put there to manage the affairs of that company. And we are here. Everybody will have to pay whether we like it or not. And we talk about it as irregularities, but we want to talk about it as corruption. Because you have to be able to show where the money is. And then when we know where the money is, we'll be able to say, you know what? Okay, the money was diverted into maybe a certain state fund that we haven't, located yet. And so you have showed us that this 15.8 billion Ghana cedis is sleeping in maybe Bank of Ghana. So, as it's sleeping, let's wake it up. You know what I mean? Let's wake it up and now take back your 15.8 billion Ghana cedis. But until then, this is so disheartening to listen to this morning.
Rosalind, once the procurement or once the irregularities come from procurement, cash, stores, and possibly not from loans and recoverables or debtors, it is so hard to actually recoup this money. And this is where, the rod of surcharging people must start actually cracking. Start whipping on people and saying that those who were involved in this procurement and contracts and stores and all of that needs to be brought in the limelight and possibly face prosecution. Definitely, this is not a figure that we should be happy about this morning. In fact, we are talking about some $1.5 billion in irregularities under just boards, institutions, agencies, and what have you, under just the energy ministry alone. If you go to employment...
Please pass my things. Please pass me my things.
If you go to employment, right, you're talking about irregularities of 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. Just employment ministry. But the big elephant in the room definitely is energy, because you have 15.8 billion and about 86% of the total irregularities recorded in 2024. In fact, the hope was that we could stay on that 2023 tangent where we reduce the irregularities from the 17 and 15 billions to just about 8.8 billion. And many were saying now, maybe we could continue on this trajectory. But it looks like we decided to balloon it by more than 100%.
Well, it's quite sad, I will say, and I'll repeat it, as a Ghanaian, to listen to this morning, because you go cast your vote hoping that things will get better, only for it to keep getting worse and worse and worse. We hope for a better future. We are being joined by Ishmael Ejekum-Hene, who is an energy analyst and also executive director for Kite Energy. Good morning, Ishmael.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good, and good morning to you.
Great. What do you make of the Auditor General's report?
Let me say that I haven't read the full report. It's the story that you posted on your network. That's what I've seen.
Okay.
But I don't think it's anything new. It's something that has been going on for some time now, except that we probably are not paying attention to it. If you recall that, especially in the case of ECG, in 2024, the PURC, the commission actually sued the ECG board because there were things that were happening that the commission wasn't too happy. And government agencies suing government agencies, so it didn't get far. But yes, I can't speak about those procurement infractions, and again, they are irregularities. So probably we need to leave them to go and explain it to the Public Accounts Committee exactly what that entails. But I can certainly speak about the cash waterfall mechanism, because those were the things that the commission wasn't too happy when we were on the board, and things like, this is how the cash waterfall mechanism works. ECG will collect all the monies at the end of the month and declare that we got, let's say, 2 billion cedis for one of, is an example. Once they declare that amount, there is a formula that's supposed to be used to distribute the money to the various entities. So when the Auditor General says that there was 2.9 million that was not reported, that's what it means. They probably, what they reported to the cash waterfall mechanism and what they reported to some other government agencies, that's the discrepancy between the two. And once you declare the money, you said 800 million cedis. They say, okay, give 200 million to IPPs. They said 1.9 monies that the cash waterfall mechanism had allocated wasn't also given to the IPPs. ECG will have its own explanation. That's why maybe let them go and explain it to the Public Accounts Committee. But this has been systematic to the extent that for the first time, PURC said, no, we're going to take on the board. at the time, the commission said, we are taking on the board, not even the ECG, because if you find ECG can find a way of bringing it back as cost that we have to add to the tariffs that you'll be computing. So I am not surprised, but it's something that has been going on for some time. If you go look at the energy sector recovery program, I keep drawing your attention, the media's attention to that report. It's the closest to an honest admission of our failures in the energy sector, a government document that is available on the website. You see all the hemorrhaging that is going on over a period of time. And I don't even blame the ECG people because it's officialdom. It's the government that appointed people at the ECG. And if they are not doing things that are right, they should be called to order. You give a job to a managing director, and the ECG managing director is very well paid, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like a job that you can get competent people, you can get people who you can set targets for them, and if they are not delivering, you take them on. These monies are not strange because when your collection rate sometimes 60%, 56%, you keep having these kinds of debts. But they said it's infractions, irregularities, and we know what happens. They will call them and they will have to explain. And the Public Accounts Committee may sidetrack them depending on how they see the problem. But for me, it's not surprising.
Well, Wesley, in fact, I want us to stay on the cash waterfall mechanism because I remember somewhere last year, the ECG boss, Samuel Dubik, made it emphatic that it was not illegal to under-declare around that time because ECG was facing serious challenges. And he said that, well, if we don't under-declare, how do we keep the company afloat? And the complaint is that with the current structure of the cash waterfall mechanism, you only have revenue from ECG to be shared among all other players, whilst other players like Gridco, who sometimes also sell power, gets to keep their revenue. Would you say some of these, strategies or some of these current makeup of the cash waterfall mechanism cause the ECG to under-declare?
No. So you see, that thing that the MD said, I think he probably didn't realize that he was speaking on air because to under-declare is an offense. You can't say it's not an offense. The cash waterfall mechanism was actually something that was brought in to check something that ECG was doing. When you collect money, let's say ECG collects 1 billion cedis, mm-hmm. That money doesn't belong to ECG. They only happen to be the collectors of everybody's money.
Yeah.
The end user tariff that you pay to ECG is made up of the cost of generation, the cost of transmission. It's also made up of ECG's own. What goes to ECG is when you look at the Gazette, what we call the distribution service charge. That's what they are entitled to. Okay. So previously, if ECG is only able to collect, let's say, if they're supposed to collect 1 billion and they do 800, instead of making sure that there's an equitable distribution of the money they collected, they will take theirs first. Okay? So there's very little left for everybody. So the cash waterfall came up with a mechanism. If you're only able to collect 100 cedis, we will share the money as everybody is entitled to, because in that 100 cedis, your share is predetermined. But because ECG wasn't collecting enough, when the cash waterfall mechanism was introduced, they were being made to pay certain amounts, especially to the IPPs. It meant that they have very little amount of money themselves.
But why is Gridco's revenue outside of this system?
In the electricity sector, we have the regulated market and the deregulated market.
Yeah.
Okay. The deregulated market is not controlled by PURC. All the power entities can enter into direct agreement with some people, and then so long as Energy Commission sanctions it, it doesn't come to, it's not regulated business, so PURC doesn't come in there. What is coming in there? The money that ECG is collecting, use the transmission service tax paid by money paid is in there. The fact that it was some other that the fee is not going to go to them. Even the levy to go to commission, the regulators were not paid by it. So that was, we can have a long conversation on the cash waterfall mechanism, because what the board then brought to that is not the full picture. And when he came in, he started complaining that there was some unfairness and all of that. Mm-hmm. There were several meetings with the World Bank, with the presidency. A new model was agreed upon, and ECG ought to have complied with that. Comply, and then if you have any challenges, come and explain. But you can't keep money and say that it's not illegal to under-declare. That wasn't right. But again, I'm not going to be a judge here. Let the people who have to deal with it deal with it.
Ishmael, let me find out from you, and I know this is what every Ghanaian will be asking this morning. How did we get here?
It's a series of issues, one of which will be lack of accountability. You see, when you sit in a ECG chair and you don't worry about whether you're going to lose your job or not, this can happen. Because when you are making losses but you can still get bonuses and stuff like that, it doesn't make sense. So there is very little incentive for anyone to perhaps, I mean, I'm not saying they intentionally are piling up there, but for example, if what the Auditor General is saying, if you can deal directly with a supplier, why do you go through a middleman? Okay, so those excesses, where is the internal audit department of ECG? And why did management allow this to happen? Okay, so some of these things, it means somebody will have to check that those things don't happen. And if those things are happening, the appointing authority, whoever has the power, who put up the MD there, should be the one who should be cracking the whip. When the board of PURC commission sued the board, there was an issue whether a government agency can sue another government agency, and that's the reason why the case didn't go far. But the commission then wanted to set an example that, look, the board was ultimately supposed to make sure that management were doing the right thing. So the management was doing something that we didn't like. We won't sue the company, but sue the board, because then we will make sure that they don't find a way of getting that fine added to their cost and ultimately end up in the target again. So we are here because of various reasons. We diagnosed the problem. If you look at the first Energy Sector Recovery Program document, I'll encourage all of you to go and read that document. In 2019, excellent document. We diagnosed the problem. All the steps that were supposed to be taken were outlined. Go check. At the 2023 review, we had only done about 15% of that. And that anytime you delay an intervention, the cost is escalating. Mind you, most of the costs are in USD, and they are supposed to be paid in cedis. And if you have a situation where the exchange rate is also depreciating, it means that the cost is going to balloon. And that's why we are where we are. Let's go back to that document. Let's make sure that we are taking the necessary steps. If somebody is not doing what they are paid to do, let's get rid of them.
Well, Ishmael, there are talks around privatization of ECG. You have made mention of the board. I mean, the focus should be on the board, but it looks like the board can't really control ECG. And when the president was speaking about privatization, he is speaking about the dying embers of distribution. What is your take? How do you think that the privatization of ECG should look like? How do you expect it to look like? Should it be just the last bit of distribution, or you stay with a school of thought that the entire ECG should be privatized?
No, you see, and you rightly put it, that it's a continuum, right? It's a whole spectrum. There are various segments of the value chain that you can have private sector entities coming in. What we did, the concession was a form of privatization, the PDF one. We basically lease the assets PDS, ran it for 25 years. So what they were paying to the Ghana was for the using of our assets. Okay, but again, you can't give control to the private sector when you have conditions attached to it. PDS were never allowed. They were not going to be allowed to fire anybody at ECG. The union made sure that in the agreement, if there were 6,000 people and you needed only 3,000 people, you still have to work with the 6,000 people. So how do you become efficient? Okay, now what they are talking about, and it's not new because, look, in ECG, meter reading and all of this in private sector hands for a very, very long time. What I believe, and to be able to comment on the impact of what is going to happen, we need to see the blueprint. Exactly what are we talking about? We need to be careful we don't end up giving some of the segment, because you see, it's not all the customers of ECG are not the same. If we go and take some juicy parts of the customer base and give it to one entity and they are doing well to collecting money and others are not doing well, if you go and for example, in places like Nima where ECG can't even go there to do disconnection, and you give it to a concessionaire to manage, obviously the person might not be able to do the good job. One of the things that we advocated, and I think if they can do it now, I believe it's going to be part of whatever privatization agreement they sign, is boundary metering. Okay, boundary metering, you create boundaries within your network and have meters, okay, have bulk meters that will record the energy you send in there, and then get somebody to account for the money, the power that went into that zone, and account for it. If you lump everything together and not able to isolate the trouble spots and the hot spots, this is what always happens. So there is room for private sector participation. The exact form will have to be evaluated and all the various pros and cons analyzed so that we get the best fit. But things as it is now is not helping us. And if, for example, somebody takes the ultimate decision at the top, okay, and then you say the private sector should only come and collect the money at the bottom, at the end of the value chain, probably is the money that is coming down based on decisions that is taken upstream that will be collected. They can only have a collection agreement. The PRC said you can't do less than 98%. Okay, if you are able to do that, you are right. But it's what comes in that we collect. And we need to see the blueprint, exactly what form of privatization. The Minister of Energy said they are not selling ECG, they are going to bring private sector participation. I've heard that they're going to give the metering bit to a private sector.
I mean, you speak about the metering bit, but in fact, ECG that we know is supposed to be used for distribution, right? Under the current system we have seen, ECG itself goes into things like purchasing of fuel for thermal plant to produce.
Okay.
Do you think that the organization is being burdened, because this is an organization that can't even control distribution, and you are giving it contracts to, sort out fuel supply and all of that? So, does that make it, some form of overburdening to ECG?
No. Fuel supply is another red herring. Okay, we can talk about it. It's one of the main problems. Let me before I answer that if I have time. You see, the Minister of Energy is already telling us that we need about $1.2 billion to buy liquid fuel. Mm-hmm. I've asked several questions. Where is that money coming from? It cannot be correct. Okay, so when you start off, if you go to the PRC website right now, the PRC is reporting that the Ministry of Energy says that we bought fuel, liquid fuel, up to the tune of about $198 million from January to February to May 2025. Which power plants are those fuels sent to? And we don't, you see, it's not ECG that buys the fuel. But when there is a looming crisis, the government of the day will tell ECG that the Ministry of Finance doesn't have money, especially when IMF was in town. They don't have money. So buy fuel because you collect the money. And in the cash waterfall mechanism, there was a line for fuel purchases and all of that. But ECG shouldn't be the ones procuring the fuel because, last year, for example, a whole cargo came and it was rejected by VRA because it didn't meet, it was off-spec. Okay, so I agree with you. ECG shouldn't go into fuel procurement, and this shouldn't be allowed to happen. But it happened because when the government doesn't want this to happen, and the Ministry of Finance doesn't have money to be given to buying the fuel, what happens is that they will force the distribution company, because you see, the reason why they come in is that they have the power purchase agreement with the IPP.
Yeah.
So they are supposed to either pay them so that they have fuel to run their generators, or then you give the fuel. Then the IPPs become only a tolling agreement. You give them fuel, they produce, they charge their capacity charges, and then some of the variable costs you absorb because you're giving them fuel. Fuel is a big issue. Now we are paying 1 cedi levy. I'm saying that the justification that the Ministry of Energy has given to us is not too accurate. We won't buy liquid fuels up to $1.2 billion. When you start off from that level, you see $1.2 billion worth of liquid fuel is equivalent to close to about 18 million barrels of oil equivalent. The highest we bought in this country from 2020 to 2015 is 5.9 million barrels. Where is it coming from? I believe it's using the cost of buying fuel, the whole cost given by Energy Commission in 2025, that we need about $1.2 billion to buy gas. There wasn't any allocation for liquid fuel. But occasionally, the gas infrastructure is not delivered, so you need one or two. But don't say that we need $1.2 billion and then already we've spent close to $200 million. I don't know where it went, and somebody, the PRC will have to explain the breakdown of the $198 million that they use to buy liquid fuel. Which thermal plants did they send the fuel to? This document is on the PRC website. Okay, which power plant, and why are we not asking those questions? It's not ECG. The government is tracking ECG because ECG is the one that probably is collecting money at the end of the month. Most of the time, it's the Ministry of Finance that finds the money. The one that the PRC has reported in the cash waterfall validation report, they said the Ministry of Finance said they've spent $198 million buying liquid fuel between January and May. This is where the cost ultimately builds up. We need to start asking these questions. With thermal plants receive the fuel, how many, what happened to, because already what they are selling to us has a price for gas in there. That's the guys who use the price. If the liquid fuel is the difference we pay, but don't pay as if it's only liquid fuel that we are using to run the power plant.
Now we pay for liquid fuel. If you check the current PRC tariff adjustments release that came out, they are actually taking about 27% of the cost of the fuel that we need to power the thermal plant. And as a result of that, we saw electricity tariffs going up by more than about 4.5% in the second quarter of in 2025.
So yeah. Your name, please.
I'm Isaac.
Isaac, PRC, what the PRC is telling us, please, I've told them I told them on your own network, there is no justification for tariffs to have been increased in the just ending quarter. But they didn't, because they have been used numbers. If they say 7%, 27% of what? Okay, they quantify what they call the under recovery.
Yeah.
Just around 500 million. Okay, what is 20%? What is, okay, when you price electricity and protect that the exchange rate is going to be 15.86 and the outcome is average of 11 cedis, there is no way, no no calculation will explain how tariffs should go up. Look, the tariffs should have come down between 18% and 20%. If for any reason you don't want to pass it on because there is debt, just say that we made significant savings. We're going to use it to reduce our debt. Don't come and do any voodoo economics and mathematics and tell us that tariffs will have to go up by 2. Where did they get it from?
So are you saying that PRC actually failed consumers because we were expecting, a reduction in tariff? Worst case scenario, maintenance. Are you saying that PRC actually failed consumers by letting in that 27% part of the fuel cost that government was talking about?
No, I'm not saying they failed consumers. The 27%, you see, that's how it ought to be done. When the Minister of Energy tells us that we haven't provided for liquid fuel, that's exactly how it's supposed to work. Since 2019, when we had excess gas, when the Sankofa project came on stream and we had excess gas, the decision had always been that all the thermal plants are going to run on gas because it's cheaper. And the plants that were not even dual fuel, they were made to convert. Even the car power and all those people, they're running on gas because we used to have enough gas, and we're actually re-injecting some of the gas because there was no demand. Okay, so from, I think, 2019, 2020, if you look at all the projections, it was liquid fuel. If for any reason there's going to be a shutdown for 1 month, then it means that it's become another variable. So when they're doing the quarterly adjustment, you compute that and then let it reflect in the tariff. So yes, if the PRC is saying that they were doing that, but the 27% of what? Is it 27% of 198 million? If that's the case, then it means we're already paying for the fuel. And then you are saying that we should also pay 1 cedi to buy fuel. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you actually added it to the cost of the production by accounting for 27% of that, there must be a figure. 27% of what? Is it of the 198 million? If that's the case, how much savings did we make because of the city appreciation? Because that's a huge thing, okay? That alone should be able to offset the fuel, it should be able to offset the over-recovery, and the tariff shouldn't have gone up. What I expected them to have done is to say that, look, we've made some savings, but because we have debt, we are recommending that you don't pass it on. Tariff stays the same, but we use it to go and cover the debt. Have you realized that this is the first time that PRC is gazetting the tariff? It's not, the May one should have ended in July.
Yeah.
And the one they announced should have taken effect from August 1. But I don't know whether they've lost track of time. This one is actually taking effect from July. It's supposed to be quarterly adjustment. It's not supposed to be 2-month adjustment.
In fact, PRC says, the PRC and the IMF says we should expect major tariff adjustments in this quarter, which will cater for the last quarter of the year.
Yes. It's the multi-year tariff that was approved it was for 3 years. So yes, it has to. It's not, you see, the IMF is only telling us to do what we have to do. I mean, let them out. When they come in town, they have to do something. So if you are not what you are telling me that I'll give money to do what to do, I will about that. But when it at the major decision that was down in September of 2022, it said it's 23 years. So it's 2 years for treasury, and all these things will have to be factored in. But let's be careful. We don't allow anybody to tell us that we haven't provided for liquid fuel. That's an avenue for all these procurement practices. When you have people who are not experts procuring fuel, it allows some of these things that the Auditor General will come back and say that somebody did something as an infraction. if we need liquid fuel, the IPPs are the ones, they have the specs for their power plants. You have what we call the heat rate, which determines the fuel efficiency of each of the thermal plants. Because of the way we do these things, we are not even sure whether these guys are even shortchanging us because the heat rates are not correct and all of that. Let's make sure that the system works. Let's make sure that the sector, the problem I have with when we say that when we add the liquid fuel to the tariff is going to go up.
In fact, you have been in the energy space for a while now. And in fact, you've seen various AG reports, and usually hitherto it used to be the finance ministry that sits at the top of the irregularities. Now we are talking about the energy sector. Now, mainly is from procurement, stores, cash, and taxes. Are we likely to see more of these irregularities in the energy sector, or do you think that there are ways that we can actually solve this and possibly revert the curve?
So you trace the root causes of these problems, okay? And if it's managerial, at least there's a new administration, there are new MD, and the new MD has been around for some time. He only left one to MEDA, and so it's a thorough ECG president. Okay, so there's new, and I know people on board. So let's give them some time. But the mistakes that have brought us to, and you see, the problem is not even what the Auditor General is saying. There's a bigger picture that we all don't see. The problem, the debt crisis that we went in is about 80% energy mix. Because when you have, there are things that we are not talking about now. When you've contracted power plants that you are not using, but you have to pay capacity charges, okay? They try to renegotiate. They never got them to agree to the terms and all of that. You trace the problem. If we don't stop it, I think first things first. Let's make sure that we ring fence. We have a good baseline, ring fence the debt that we have, and find a way of paying that. But we should make sure that we don't keep adding to it. Okay? If we keep adding to it, no amount of levy will be able to clear the thing. And if we don't hold people accountable, if we don't tell people that these are your benchmarks, I'm giving you this job, I'm paying you well. If you are not meeting this deadline, put the job down, get somebody who will come in and do it. So we can't afford to another business as usual. If we continue down this trajectory, yes, 2025, 2026, we'll be here talking about the same thing. These things are avoidable. If there are procurement rules, let's stick to it. That's why you have entity tender boards and all of that. They are in there. They are paid to do that job. Let's get them to work. If they raise it and nobody listens, the auditor will throw it, and then people have to be asked to come and account on.
Okay. Well, Rosalie,
all right, so yeah, that's about it. It looks like there's a lot of work to be done in the energy sector. Ishmael, thank you so much.
There is a lot, and let's make sure that we dispassionately discuss this issue. But everybody should be concerned. The managers of the utilities must be concerned, because when we suffered the haircut, everybody suffered because of some of these decisions that we are taking.
All right, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Same here.
All right, so Ishmael Jukumhene, he's a CEO of Kite Energy, and he's helped us understand it better. So there are others coming up on the slide, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't hoping to see Employment and Labor Relations Ministry being second in terms of total irregularities recorded. In fact, they have actually overtaken the Finance Ministry, Ministry of Employment and Labor, 1.2 billion in irregularities. There's also Ministry of Road and Highways, 616 million Ghana cedis in irregularities. If you add the two, we're talking about some...
And we still have bad roads.
Yeah, we still have bad roads. I mean, President, these are irregular.
You see, if we have...
This morning I can see you are... I mean...
why do we have bad roads? And I'm seeing this figure in... I sometimes when I'm using the word irregularity, I feel like God will slap me, because I'm trying to sugarcoat it. And God says, don't sugarcoat it. 1 billion, 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 1 we have this amount of money lost in the road sector, and we have bad roads.
Yeah, we have bad roads. And in fact, based on the account that the finance minister actually gave when he was reading the 2025 budget, he said that if you look at the total arrears that we have to pay in 2025, which is in excess of 60 billion Ghana cedis, majority of that, more than 30 billion, comes from the roads ministry. And usually most of them are from the cocoa roads that Cocoa Board actually engages in. I mean, we know Cocoa Board is supposed to buy just cocoa and export and get forex for the country, but they find themselves constructing roads and giving out, contracts and all of that. Cocoa roads, yes, more than 30 billion in arrears to be cleared. And once you continue to rack up some of this debt and some of these loans, what happens is that it affects the banking sector, because all the contractors, they go for their loans from the commercial banks. And so if they go for the loans from the commercial banks and they are supposed to use it for government projects, they are done with the project or in the process of finishing, and they do not get payment from government, what happens is that these loans are recorded as non-performing loans, and it affects the banking sector, Rosalind.
All right, so we are being joined by Edem Senanu, who is a chairman for African Union Advisory Board on Corruption. Good morning, Edem.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. I like your voice. It tells me that you fight corruption. Now, taking a look at the Auditor General's report and taking a look at the kind of debt that has been accrued, especially the fact that we just delved into the energy sector, where the monies that have been accrued and still not been accounted for is quite worrying. We term it as irregularities, but on the real is more of corruption. What do you make of this?
I think that our enforcement, especially our sanctioning of persons who engage in irregularities is weak. And so that's why year in, year out, we see a cumulative increase in these numbers. And that's one of the reasons why we should have specialized to make sure that these cases are dealt quickly. Sanctions should be looked at and made stronger. And we do need the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, because that tie together and make it very clear the kind of sanctions you will incur if you engage in these kinds of irregularities. People are just taking advantage of the system because they believe, or even if they sanction you, maybe you go for a few years and come out and still enjoy the booty. So we need to rethink these whole things about prosecution, sanctioning, especially the levels of sanctions, and the speed with which these cases are handled.
So looking at this in particular, what kind of sanctions should be given to the leaders that caused this debt?
I think that, first of all, we want to retrieve all the monies and assets, but you should be looking at things beyond 20 years imprisonment for people to begin to take these things seriously. In other jurisdictions like Germany, no member of your family will be entitled to state employment if you are engaging in any kind of fraud. So extending the sanctioning to members of the family, then the sense of embarrassment and impact is even greater.
Now, let's take a look at other countries. You are on the African Union Board, so let's take a look at other countries, how they are also fighting corruption in Africa here.
Yeah, so the examples I've picked, for example, I'm talking about Kenya. Kenya has 12 specialized courts, what it means, especially for anti-corruption. So you don't have the case called today, and then they say come back next month. If they start on Monday, they continue Tuesday, Wednesday. They have a cutoff point of 6 months. These cases come up in 6 months, they are done. Unlike we have 5 years and beyond, and the case is still running, everybody even forgets. Nobody even recognizes when the sanctions come in. So there are other jurisdictions, including, I think, Zambia as well, where the speed with which the cases are dealt with, it is clear in the public mind that this is not profitable.
All right. So, you know, currently we have about 3 styles of fighting corruption. The politicians will say there's the Rambo style, and then there's the OSP style, and then there's a style of setting up a board and committee. All these styles, do you think is the right way of fighting corruption?
Well, there's no single perfect style. It's something we say even about leadership. There's no single perfect style. Depending on the case and its merits, you must now begin to construct what's the best strategy to get the evidence, to get the witnesses ready to speak to the facts, and then determine each of the laws that they fall under. So which of the institutions is best fit to do this investigation. And it may even depend on who is leadership at the time. Remember, Obama coming and saying you need strong institutions and strong leaders, which is true. You may have an institution which performs very well under one tenure, but the next doesn't because the leader at the time doesn't have the posture to push things and push them, rapidly, or the skill set to make sure that the right things are done. So what's important is a case-by-case analysis to understand which laws it comes under, which tools are best suited, and then to deploy them.
But do you think either of these styles will yield results in the future?
I think that all the styles have some merit. The most important thing is that you must have thorough investigation and get the facts. Otherwise, whatever you do will not stand up in the court of competent jurisdiction where the evidence is being tested. Most important thing is make sure you have done enough research, you have facts, so that anyone who needs to be convinced the evidence is compelling, and then we can hold people accountable.
Now, the biggest problem we face is politicization of corruption. Anytime one government comes in and tries to fight the whole corruption bit, then one party will rise up and say, you are fighting my people. And so we are never able to nib it in the bud. How can we, somebody will use the word eradicate this whole canker, where we can say we are fighting corruption fair and square?
I think it's a failure of our public education system. In other jurisdictions where the values of society have been codified and persons have been, trained, have been nurtured to hold very dear these values, it no longer becomes an issue of party affiliation being superimposed over the public interest, or the best interest of the collective. At the moment, what it is that 90% of Ghanaians don't know the obligations of who they are as Ghanaians. The Article 41 elements, for example, 41F, where we are supposed to combat and report the misuse and abuse of public resources and assets. So this is a constitutional obligation of every citizen. 9 out of 10 Ghanaians don't know this. So they haven't grown up understanding that you are a responsible citizen when you speak up against these things and when you join the security agencies to retrieve monies that have been stolen or fraudulently taken away. So the Nordic countries like Finland are doing better, Asian countries are doing better because young people are grown with a certain mindset. And so we don't have that mindset in Ghana. We need to begin to inculcate that within the public education system. I think that from kindergarten, we should make this a set of values that the Ghanaian holds dear. Then it will no longer be that the partisan political interests are, becoming a wall and an obstruction to the fight against corruption.
Do you think as a country we can ever win the fight against corruption?
I believe so. I think that there are jurisdictions where we see that persons are willing to root this out. I think we just don't have the mindset. I think that if we start getting the next generation to have stronger value set, honesty, hard work, integrity, if we have many more examples, models of persons who through dint of hard work, whether in public sector, private sector, have been able to make it and make sure that young people see this, then they are less interested in using shortcuts, and they understand the legacy you leave when you live your life in a very honest way.
Will name and shame help in any way?
Absolutely. Name and shame is one of the easiest ways. Just that not everybody is affected by name and shame. So that's why we say different tools must be applied. Some people need to be sanctioned, not just some people have no shame. So they will just continue to do it. But it's just one of the tools that provide a way of ensuring people know that you can get up with this kind of behavior.
Right, Adam, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I like that you have told us that we can fight corruption, but it takes all of us, right, to do it?
It takes all of us holding hands together to build the Africa we want. And I think that it is really the youth who must lead with their voices being clear, not thinking that this is impossible, setting the examples today will build the future for tomorrow. That's what we want to see.
Right. Thank you so much, Adam. We are grateful. And
Thank you,
Adam
too.
Senanu is a chairman for African Union Advisory Board on Corruption. Let me read a few messages that have come in. Thank you all so much for sending your messages to us. We are grateful. So it's time for us to read all other messages. And this one caught my eye, so I'll start with this very one. It says, Dear Roslyn, I am sure ECG is one of the most corrupt institutions after the judiciary and the police service. We always hear the energy minister talk without concrete measures. I need a meter and I'm asked to pay 500 Ghana cedis as registration fee, which is a mind-boggling as John Jinapa. So John Jinapa, should go beyond press conference and act. I am not suggesting the minister should behave like a bull in a china shop, but the talk is too much. Good morning, dear Charles Champong. All right, thank you so much, Charles. Good morning, Ross. What do you say? What MPP government... Okay, you want to say, you see what MPP government did to Ghana? All right, ECG, GCB, 52.03, nowhere to find... Oh, okay, I'm struggling. At this point, I'm struggling, so I have to skip you. Okay, good morning to you. Selflessness is a quality that is often overlooked in today's society, but it's crucial for building a strong, united nation. Citizens who are willing to put the needs of others above their own and who are dedicated to serving their fellow citizens without expecting anything in return are the backbone of a successful and prosperous country. By focusing on the common good and working towards the betterment of society as a whole, selfless citizens can help to create a more just and equitable society for all. Erombeba Koko Komisa Brekum. Okay, Gatsi Man from Brekum says, good morning, Roslyn. The way you are happy this morning, the only God knows. Anyway, can you tell those spokesperson and potential aspirants for the NPP flag bearer that if they have no message, they should withdraw from the contest and stop attacking Dr. Bawumia at every opportunity given. This is a lazy approach to campaign. That's why it's only the NDC that believe in them. How can your opponents support your bid? Shameful. Dr. Bawumia has carried himself with dignity through storms others could not survive. So I urge him to be focused and ignore these bitter entities. Good morning, my beautiful sister Roslyn. Life imprisonment is the best answer for those criminals who call themselves honorables. Shame, Cromfo, political spider from Kintampo. Political spider, you hit the nail right on the head. Like Cromfo pa. Hey, so the haircut that we were going through, somebody was, oh my goodness, I don't even want to go there. Anyway, the massive losses at ECG plunging the nation into deeper debt are deeply troubling and must not go unpunished. This mess is a direct result of reckless mismanagement under the erstwhile Akufo-Addo administration. Those found culpable must not only be surcharged but swiftly prosecuted to send a clear message that public office is not a jackpot. It's disheartening that while ordinary Ghanaians endure rising tariffs and power cuts, a few appointees have turned ECG into a cash cow. This cannot continue. Accountability must prevail. Daniel Akbaliok from Sandema. So we are being joined on Zoom by Ekow Vincent Assafuah. He is the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, and he's joining us this morning on Zoom. Good morning, Honourable. Honourable, if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah, good morning, Roslyn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you too?
I'm okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you would have made it into the studio, but for, yesterday where you didn't close from Parliament early, so you couldn't make it into the studio. But we're still grateful that you joined us on Zoom.
Most grateful too.
Right. How is the NPP?
Well, the NPP is doing well. I mean, on Saturday, you could clearly see the euphoria around the country, and more especially around Legon, that there seemed to be some unanimity in terms of the fact that the party have sunk to its lowest low. And for that matter, we need to find a way to be able to rebuild our party. It is only through that rebuild and restructuring that the NPP can be attractive to well-meaning Ghanaians again. We do not, as it were, lose sight of the fact that the NPP is not the NPP that we used to know before 2017. And it means that we have a lot of work to do, especially the young people like us in the party who have also understood and accepted this fact, are bent on making sure that we will make the party attractive once more. So the NPP is okay. Saturday, we had a very good conference.
Are you happy with the reforms so far?
Absolutely, especially when the power that has been given to conference to be able to approve and disapprove amendments that are proposed by National Council and the National Executive were exercised in such a way that the party people themselves knows what they want, they knows what they do not want. There was one that I felt that we could have probably made sure that we get conference to also disagree to, but of course, I mean, opinions are like, no, since everybody has his own opinion.
Which one is it?
I think it is the motion number 43 or 42, where there was an application, if you like, a motion that members of parliament who are supposed to be contested by any minister of state or deputy minister of state or any CEO will have to resign 12 clear months before the national general elections. For me, it still doesn't make sense to me because what do you seek to achieve? I mean, I thought that the idea behind it was to be able to give members of parliament some peace of mind for them to be able to stay in parliament and do some good job for the party, especially because of the numbers that we have now. So I was expecting that it would have been 12 clear months before parliamentary elections and not national general elections, because it is the parliamentary elections that will show or portray that the member of parliament is coming back to parliament or not necessarily the national general elections. And so I was expecting that amendment would have been rejected, if not even rejected, would have been recouched in such a way that it would reflect the necessary needs of the times that we are in. However, I think that for the 56 amendment that were proposed...
Ekow, let me come in here with the amendment, the 43 that you're talking about, amend the Constitution by inserting a new provision to provide that national officers, ministers, deputy ministers, CEOs, and other government appointees who fail to contest to become a parliamentary candidate of the party in a constituency with a sitting member of parliament shall resign their position at least 12 months to the national general elections. That's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. So it should have been 12 clear months before the parliamentary election. Okay. Because the idea is to be able to give some amount of peace of mind to the MP to be able to work. Because if you have a minister, CEO who is already with a lot of resources coming to your backyard to campaign, then it means that you may also have to turn your back to your constituency to go and work. And so that would mean that parliament will suffer. And with these numbers, we don't expect that is what we are going to be seeing. So if you make it the general elections, it means that would have been after primaries have been conducted.
Okay.
But the idea is for you to give that member of parliament some peace of mind in his constituency during the parliamentary primaries. And so, well, I think that it's just a matter of how it was couched. Maybe I may have to do a petition to the National Executive Council to be able to have a relook at that wording. That is it supposed to be parliamentary elections or national general elections?
Okay.
For national general elections, then it means that you don't seek to cure anything.
But are you saying this because you're a member of parliament and you feel it will affect you?
No, I think that I'm speaking out of practical terms. I'm in Parliament, and I know how is it, and I know what it takes for you to sacrifice your weekends or most weekends, inclusive of Mondays, to be in the constituency, and also to come back quickly to also embark on parliamentary duties. And so I am lucky, maybe just one flight, 30 minutes flight, I'm in my constituency. How about the others who have to travel long distances, people in the Western North, people in the upper Northern, that is the Northern region and what have you, those in the BA, they drive, long distances. And even the time, the risk and all that is not easy. But of course, you have to also do constituency duties. And so I was expecting that something could have been, because it's just to create an equitable platform, a fair platform for everybody. A member of parliament does not have the resources that a minister or CEO will be to have. People genuinely may be supporting a CEO or a minister because of the fact that the person is a minister or a CEO. The member of parliament may not have that luxury of support. And so it becomes very difficult for the member of parliament to have a peace of mind to sit in parliament to work. Right. And I'm saying this not because of me. I'm saying this because practically that is how it is. And you know that even recently Parliament has been sitting on Mondays and even on Saturdays. So if you have somebody who will not have any, as it were, restrictions in terms of being in Parliament to be able to make sure that certain businesses of government are opposed constructively, dealt with constructively, and that person will be at your backyard to be able to make things very difficult for you. And so, I will see to that, maybe a petition for us to have a look at the couching of the wording so that it could really serve the purpose to which it was introduced.
Great. Now, in 2028, you hope to snatch power from the NDC. You lost power in 2024. You say that it's because of voter apathy. There are some members of your party that were not too happy. Looking at the reforms you've put in place, do you think that we will see better turnout in 2028 for the NPP?
Well, I think so. I think so because when I was going around during the 7th December elections, one thing I realized was that there were a number of people who mentioned that you are not making us part of it, and you are not bringing us part of it because some of us want to be polling station executives, some of us want our voices to be heard. And so we were thinking about a one-man, one vote, where any member of parliament should be able to, any member of the party should be able to be part of the decision-making process of the party. But of course, we also felt that it should be a process. I mean, you cannot just open it up for everybody without necessarily having structures to be able to get to as to those who actually become members of the party in terms of decision-making body. And so we made sure that at least we will increase the voter net to about 40%. And so currently, if you have 1,000 polling station executives in your constituency, you are likely to have about 1,400 now because of the amendment that has been approved and passed. And so we've done a limited expansion where in every polling station where we have 5 polling station executives, 2 members have been added. In an electoral area where we had 1 electoral area coordinator, 4 other electoral area coordinators, so if you like, executives have also been added, just to give space and room for people who are willing to be able to support the party in terms of joining the decision-making process. We've also made sure that other constituency executives who were in office even before now and they are no more in office are also given an opportunity to be able to share their insight and their experience with the constituency at that level. Because more times when people serve the party as constituency executives within a space of time, because there are no more constituency executives, they seem to have been jettisoned without tapping into their experience. And normally because of the local politics and also going on in the constituencies, I mean, they feel rejected, they feel sidelined, and for that matter, it does not boost the morale and the spirit of the party. And so in the wisdom of the party, we felt that it would be proper for us to be able to bring all those people on board so that they will be part of the decision-making body of the party. And so I think that the amendment should be able to put us on the pedestal, a platform where we should be able to leapfrog from our lowest level to a point that will be a competitive party in this country.
Okay.
Obviously, you can see what the minorities already do in Parliament, even though the numbers are not as huge as we were expected. But I think that the minority in Parliament so far have shown mettle to be able to provide alternatives to government. As a responsible opposition in Parliament, it is our duty to make sure that we present ourselves in such a way that it is proper for us to be a government in waiting. I mean, you cannot be a government in waiting and you cannot be given an opportunity to serve in government, or if you like to be able to win an election without the proper and the necessary preparations thereon, so that people will see you attractive, people will see you serious.
Okay.
And that is what I think that the party is trying to do now.
Are the grassroots happy?
They are getting happy now. What I saw from Legon, before then I knew that the grassroots were not happy. But when I came to Legon, I realized that people are now realizing that power is everything. I mean, you cannot lose power on the altar of division. And so people are now understanding that.
Honorable, if you don't mind me asking you, you said they were not happy. Why were they not happy?
Obviously, a lot of people were having expectations. I mean, when you support a party and you have expectations and they are not met,
What were the expectations?
Well, that can be a discussion for another day. But what I know is that even in my constituency, there are a number of people who were not happy because of the expectation. You have a constituency executive officer who feels that I have a daughter who completed senior high school. I wanted the person to go and work with the Bank of Ghana because the person thinks that the father is a constituency executive. If for 3-4 years that expectation has not been met, obviously, as to whether it is practical or it is even easy for the person to have that opportunity to go and work with the Bank of Ghana is also another question. But the fact that it has not been met, that expectation has not been met, people were not even interested in the practicality of it. And so people were not happy because of some of these things. And so reality is dawning in. I think that people are now realizing that, yes, we made a number of mistakes. And also there were a number of things that were also beyond persons who were also in office, that is ministers, CEOs, and other appointees. And so I think that with this, we should be able to make sure that the party becomes attractive. I think that the grassroots, though we're not happy, but with time, some understanding will have to be reached for persons to know that it was not entirely the fault of people who were in office.
Okay. Now, you have been advocating for the Black Queens for a while now. Do you play football?
Yeah, I do play football.
Oh, you play football? That's nice. So why not Black Stars, but the Black Queens?
Because the Black Queens that is playing now, the Black Queens have been able to raise the flag of Ghana high to the admiration of the world, to the extent that, I mean, persons who were not even believing that the Black Queens would be able to get this far are now shocked. And I'm one of them. I was thinking that, yes, the Black Stars will be able to, the Black Queens will be able to do well. But in terms of the people that were also in the competition, in terms of the Giants of Morocco, in terms of the Giants of Nigeria and all the other people, you could clearly see that they were doing better, at least as compared to their previous matches. But they've shown that temerity, they've shown that competence to be able to get to the semi-finals, and that is why I'm so happy. That is why I'm so much enthused and supporting the Black Queens. I'm passionate about the successes that they've been able to chalk so far, and I think that they deserve every support from us. It's on that basis that yesterday, on the floor of Parliament, I made a statement to applaud the Black Queens for how far they've brought Ghana. I mean, for people who travel a lot, I mean, when the people see you and they see that you are Black, I mean, they will mention some few countries, and obviously they mention about 3 countries. It is going to be very difficult for you not to hear that, are you also from Ghana? It is because of how football has been able to raise the flag of Ghana high. Football since 2006, especially when Ghana started getting onto the soils of the World Cup. We've shown that Ghana is a football nation. It is not only about our men. Our ladies can also do better. And ever since that, the likes of the Joabai also entered, or if you like, made sure that Ghana Black Queens is also put on the international stage. The Black Queens have shown that kind of competence. And today, on the field, Ghana plays Morocco. I am hoping that even though Morocco seemed to be a better side, even though they seem to be better, because I have watched their games, I have seen how they do their build-up, I have seen how they go about with their passing and their long crosses here and there, and sometimes long-range shots from the Moroccans, and it puts some amount of fear in me. However, when the passion is there, when the competence is there, I mean, you should be able to make sure that you're able to stop your opponent, irrespective of how strong your opponent may seem. Anybody who loves football, whether you support or whether you follow men football or women football, you realize that Morocco is also a football nation, that when you are playing Morocco and the likes of the Tunisians and those guys, you have to be very careful when you are playing with them. And so I hope that Ghana will be able to sail through today.
Right. We hope so too. And thank you so much for being a voice for the Black Queens. We are hoping to see the same energy when it's time for the Black Stars.
I'll do more than that.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Have a good day. But you owe me one. You owe me one.
I'll come to the studio. Don't worry. I'll find time to come.
Have a good day. All right.